We're thrilled to, as I said, have Heather join us today. Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So we've known each other for about 2 years now. We were gonna do something earlier on, and now we're here today, and so excited that we were able to make this happen. But when you talked to us a couple years ago, you were telling us your story of how you got to where you are today. So I wanted to see if you could share that story with us, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, first of all, my brother's military career, Army, his full adult life. I have so much appreciation for military spouses and families and all the sacrifice. So thank you all so much for all that you do. I see you for sure. So really grateful to be here today. My story goes back to Worcester, Massachusetts. I grew up one of four kids with a single mom. We grew up really poor, and I started working when I was 9 years old. I was delivering papers as my first job, and then started bussing tables, working at fast food restaurants, and ultimately waitressing and bartending. And while I didn't know it at the time, I was really building up sales experience and sales expertise, which launched my career after school. I went to work in the wine business, became one of the top salespeople in the company until I ended up getting sexually harassed at work. I quit that job because I did not have any confidence at the time. And I went and found another job, ended up in the radio business, got into sales and radio, was working for a great guy. And then my boyfriend cheated on me, and I went to work falling apart. And my boss said, "What happened?" I explained it to him. And he said, "Do you want to jump on an airplane with me, never come back here again, and I'll make you a very rich young lady?" And I said, "Yeah, sign me up if that means I don't have to see my boyfriend ever again." So I jumped on a plane. He dropped me off in Saginaw, Michigan, and we bought a $25 million company. And it was my job to sell that company as fast as possible, which meant accelerating revenues as rapidly as possible. So for the next 3 years, I worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And we sold that company for $55 million in just under 3 years. And then I moved from there and I went to a publicly traded radio company in Naples, Florida. And I became the VP of sales, executive vice president of sales, chief revenue officer. And over a 14-year period, I was named one of the most influential women in radio. I did an amazing job for the company. And then the CEO that I worked for became ill, and he elevated his daughter to replace him, and she fired me immediately. So I had an 18-month non-compete, which meant I had to leave the industry that I had expertise in and in a massive network and start over somewhere as a beginner. And I left out that I was actually a single mother at the time with oh my gosh, how old was my son? Maybe 10 years old. I was a single mom with a 10-year-old son and a lot of bills to pay. And I decided that I needed to ask for help. So I put a post up on social media and I said, "I've just been fired. If I've ever helped you in any way, I need to hear from you now." That post went viral and garnered millions of views because apparently a lot of people don't talk about getting fired.
Right.
So that was kind of crazy, but that post landed me on the Elvis Duran show. And I went on the Elvis Duran show having no idea what I would talk about. And halfway through that interview, he said to me, "Well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book." But I wasn't. I hadn't been writing a book. I had grown up with a really smart sister and figured that, I was the social one and I was hanging on to these labels and limiting myself. But luckily that man spoke a conviction into me that day. And I Googled, how do you write a book? And wouldn't you know, 5 months later, my first book, Confidence Creator, came out. And the first week it came out, it trumped Donald Trump as the #1 book on the business biography list on Amazon. And yes, I do have the screenshot to prove that one. That was pretty exciting.
So awesome.
So that led me to Google, how do you sell books? And so it said, go on podcasts and speak. So I launched my speaking career. I ended up launching my podcast back in 2019. And then I signed a deal with HarperCollins Leadership for my second book, Overcome Your Villains. That came out in 2021, and I became a board member during this time. I launched my first mastermind and coaching business and consulting business. And so just a series of different businesses have really spun up out of all the craziness since I've been fired.
Incredible. I mean, So cool. I love everything about it. And it's funny because the first thing you said is you started working at 9 and you had a paper out, which cracks me up because I that was my first job and you had to hustle, and you're in the all elements. That's so funny that was the first thing that you started doing, but then hustling up until now, and just how that kind of happened. But then I also heard you talk about uh you didn't have the knowledge, like you just Googled how to write a book or how to sell a book. And I'm hearing that more and more from people where they're like, I had no idea how to do it. So I just Googled it. And that's so cool, that I love that you were just like, I don't know how to do it, but I will find a way. So
One of the things that I realized, when I was younger, I was always told someone like me couldn't be a leader or, reach high levels in corporate America because I was female, or I had
right.
blonde hair, or I had long hair, or I wore, there was all reasons why I couldn't. So when I was able to break that glass ceiling just by outworking everybody, that was sheer determination and conviction that I wanted to do it, and I was going to let nothing stop me. I realized you can accept other people's limiting beliefs and take them on as your own, or you can thank them for their limiting beliefs and hand them right back to them. And I
Right.
also learned that the most successful people that are out there, they don't know the how. They don't know how
Right.
they're going to do it. They're just committed to knowing they will do it and figuring it
Right.
out along that way. So thank goodness for Google and now Chat GPT.
Right, for sure. Well, and you also mentioned your podcast, so I wanted to lean into that because I feel like that's just such a cool thing out there for everybody to, you pick what you want to listen to, and here you go, and you can go for a walk. You can, do errands for us, working from home or raising our kids. It's just a really great thing to just kind of learn something new or get motivated. So, can you tell us a little bit on the why for the podcast and how you got that going?
Yeah. And again, back to, I am not some big strategic, person who's sitting around with these master plans. I kind of fall into everything, but I
Yeah.
also believe in God's plan, and there's something much bigger out there than all of us. And if you're willing to step into the fear, if you're willing to step into that unknown and listen to your intuition, that's the most important thing in the world. Just listen to your voice over everything else, that those right answers will come to you. And as I mentioned, I had just Googled, how do you sell books? Because I had no idea. I had never been in the book business, never intended to be, but I knew I had something, a message that would help people. And I thought it's my duty to make sure that this is at least offered so people know it exists. And so when I Googled it, it said speak and go on podcasts. So I started doing both. I had no idea what I was doing. The first thing I had to do was pitch myself as a guest. So I thought, how can I add value, right? How can I benefit these people, make it about serving others? And I just thought, well, I have 20 something years expertise in corporate America on how to get ahead. I can teach anyone how to do that. I can teach anyone how to get promoted. I can teach anyone how to make it to the C-suite because I've done it. So that was how I started presenting myself at first to female driven shows was, hey, I'll come on and I'll teach the ladies how they can get ahead in their careers and in business. And then when I started seeing the episodes that I would go on, data doesn't lie, right? So when you test and try things, you're going to get information back. Well, those
Right.
episodes that I would go on would start doing well. And so I'd see them showing up in like the top 20. And I thought, is that something about me? Is it something about my message? This could mean something. So I opened my mind to this idea that maybe there's something to this podcasting thing. I don't know if there is or not. But I ended up in LA on a really big show. And that show, the Lady Gang, did incredibly well. And when I saw that, I thought, this is my opportunity. So the company that owned them was at the time was called Podcast One. I called the headquarters, which was in LA where I was at the time. And I said, I'd love to get the chance to come in and meet the CEO and thank him for giving me an opportunity to go on one of his shows. So they said, okay, sure, come on in. So I went in with no agenda other than to say thank you. And that turned into a 2-hour meeting, which turned into him offering me a job and creating a show for me. And everyone told me, this was 2019, it's too late. There's too many podcasts. You're never going to make it. So I remember thinking, okay, I need to come up with a huge guest to make a lot of noise because I need eyeballs on me to see if there's something worthwhile that can help other people. So to me, Gary Vee was the biggest podcast guest that was out there. So I took a Google alert out on him and found out he was launching a business. I contacted his partner because I figured he'd be easier to get to than Gary. And I said, hey, I know a lot about the wine business. I was in it for a few years, did really well. Love to give you some free advice if you want to hear it. We jumped on a call. We were on a call for an hour and a half. And at the end, he said, if I can ever do anything to help you, let me know. I said, well, it's funny you ask. I'd love to have your partner as my guest on my show. And he said, sure, I'll line it up. So he lined it up. I ended up having Gary as my first guest, Go Big or Go Home with Gary V. And that episode launched the show and gave me some initial, at least people were aware of the show initially, which got things rolling for us.
Yeah. And for anyone who's listening now or later on as they watch the recording, you need to check out our podcast, because it's one of those where, you just start to listen to Heather. She just gives you all of these ideas and confidence and just the stories that come out of it. It's incredible. So highly, highly recommend. 5 stars, 5 out of 5. So make sure you check that out. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to check in with you on because of what you've been working on, what you speak about. And one of them is how to get motivated when you aren't feeling it. So what do you have to say to the spouses listening today that are just like, I can't get motivated? Where do I start?
Okay, so I have so many for you on that one. For me, it's super easy because I'm a single mom. Like my motivation is that kid in the next room, right? So I always think to myself, how I show up is going to determine how he shows up in his life. So on those days, of course, we all have days. That this morning he didn't want to get out of bed, and I'm in back-to-back meetings and calls all day, and I'm like, no, you got to get out of this house and get to school. Like, let's go. There's no days off, people. Like, this is your job. You got to get moving. Well, he knows because he sees me get up and get moving every day. It's not, I don't want him to be someone that's going to say, well, today I'll miss, or I'm going to call it in. That's not how we roll around here. But if I'm not setting that bar really high, if I'm not living that life, he's not gonna do it either. And so, especially as your child gets a little bit older, my son's 15, you start saying, oh, wow, they don't listen to what I say. They watch what I do. So that's a great motivator. Anytime that you're like, should I go to the gym today? Well, do I want my kid to be going to the gym today? Yeah, I do. Right. Yeah. So if you want them to show up as that best version of themselves, they're going to mirror you. And that's what, when I meet with people a lot and they'll say, my kid won't take any pictures, or my kid's confidence is so low. The first thing I always ask is, how's your confidence? How do you do when you take pictures, right? Like, I want to know, how are you showing up? Because when you hold that mirror to people, you're going to really open their eyes to something that, sometimes we forget, which is we are really the role models that our kids spend more time with than anything. So I really leverage that as motivation for myself, because I want him to have all the opportunity in the world. Yeah. And then the other thing is, I would say this is that if you're not going to do it for you, do it for the girl or guy coming after you, right? Thank God for all these people that came before us that gave me the opportunity to even have ambition to get into the C-suite, right? Like there's so many people that came before us, so many icons in history that came before us that opened doors that now we get to walk through without even thinking. So for those moments when you're doubting yourself, or you're saying, I'm not feeling it today, say, I better start feeling it today because I have these opportunities because somebody else fought for them. Somebody else pushed themselves through horrible situations so that I could be here, so that I had a chance to vote, so that I have, equal rights in this country. I'm not about to sleep on this for those people coming after me. I'm going to keep blowing those doors open too.
Yes. Go get it. I love it. Thank you. That's huge. And it's sweet to hear that too, because it just makes me think, like, when I'm working out, my kids see me. And then the other day, my little guy walked in and he's like, Mommy, you're doing such a great job. You're doing a really good job. And to hear him say that, like he sees it, he knows it's important. So it's really cool. Hits home for sure. Okay. So this is a big one. The next topic I want to talk about, because a lot of us out there are apologizers. You bump into somebody, I'm sorry, or, you're late to a meeting or something like that. I'm sorry. So how can we change that to thanks?
Okay, well, if you're live with me right now, I need to know in the chat, I need you to tell me that, yes, you're going to commit to this. I'm going to give you a 7-day challenge. There is no better time than Mother's Day to kick this off, right? This is a gift to you. Please, this will change your life. I promise you. I need to know that you're going to do this for me. 7-day challenge. Here we go. Instead of saying sorry, which we all do subconsciously, we just unconsciously, we're not even aware we're saying sorry. Someone bumps into you and you say, sorry. right? We're putting ourselves beneath other people when we do that, whether we realize it or not, we are. So what I'm going to ask you, stop making it about you. Stop falling asleep at the wheel and just reacting and saying sorry for nothing. Become conscious and say thank you anytime you're in a situation, and make it about the other person. Here's an example. You walk in late to dinner and everybody's waiting for you. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate everyone waiting for me. Let's get started. That's you're flipping the script. Instead of making it about me, I'm sorry, I'm late, I'm sorry, here's what happened. We're making it about appreciation, kindness, and gratitude for the people who are there. So if someone bumps into you, you say, excuse me, and take a step back and smile at them, right? Make it about making the world a better place. Make it about the other person, but stop making it about you. And I promise you, in 7 days, when you catch yourself doing this, give yourself grace. A couple of times you're going to have a mistake here or there. That's fine. It's just, you got to get out of that routine. But for 7 days, if you do this, your confidence is going to begin elevating. You're going to feel better about yourself. And you're going to realize I am never too late in the game to make a change to better me and to make everything around me better. So let me know, are you taking the challenge? Give me the 7-day challenge. No more sorry, and make it about them and say thank you.
I love it. I see Liz is saying, I need to do this more. I commit. So yes, Liz, I'm an apologizer. So I am one to say, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'll say, excuse me, but I'll also be like, I'm sorry. So we're doing it, Heather. 7 days, it's happening. We'll keep you posted. Okay. So military spouses, we move 8 to 10 times or more within a 20-year career. So we're always retelling our story, rebranding ourselves, and it can get exhausting. So what advice do you have for us as we continue throughout our military journey and we meet new people? How can we, keep rebranding ourselves in a way that, lifts us up?
Okay, well, so this is so funny. When you had sent me some notes, Nicole, ahead of time and shared this with me, which I'm familiar because my brother's family has moved more than anybody I know, right? And it takes me back. I always go back to how can I relate to that, right? If I'm not married to someone in the military, so I don't know what that's like. But you know what I remembered? Growing up, my parents moved us in high school, going into my junior year. So going into junior year in high school, which I can only imagine if my son would flip out if I did this, but we got up and moved, all right, we left the town that we had lived in forever. We went to a new school, a new home, new friends, and I was walking in at 16 years old, not knowing anybody. At the time, I thought it was horrible. I remember saying to my parents, this is awful. How can you do this to your child, right? However, now that I'm 48 and I look back, it was such a gift. Let me tell you why this is a gift. And it's set me up for so much success in business. It's crazy. And socially, it's unbelievable. I was forced at 16 to realize uncertainty can hit at any point in time, right? Things can change drastically at any point in time. The one thing you can count on is yourself and how you're going to show up. So I made the decision back then. I wanted to make friends. And I thought, okay, all the dumb things that I had done before in my old school that maybe I was embarrassed about carrying shame around with, that's gone, right? Like, this is a fresh start. I can show up as the best version of me today. And that's pretty exciting. And so I remember leading with that attitude of positivity, and I was able to make a lot of friends in a short period of time, which gave me incredible confidence because I thought, look what I've achieved. I'm proud of me. I was scared to do this. I thought it was going to go awful. I didn't know how it would go. And you know what? There's all these things I can be grateful for. So, really focusing on being proud of you, because so many people cannot do that. So many people will go lock themselves in their bedroom and not come out, right? Give yourself that opportunity to see it as what a gift this is. You know what? I didn't love some of these people I was hanging around with before. I'm going to hang around with better people that, deserve to be in a circle with me, that I can feed off of, that they can feed off of me. I'm going to find my people for the first time. I'm going to show up as the most real version of me. I'm going to drop the masks I used to wear, and I'm going to watch how differently life can be for me. This is exciting, right? And as you embrace that and start moving into this as something really beautiful and really exciting, it's going to give you more confidence. It's going to teach you more resilience. It's going to show you how living in uncertainty can be a gift. And the more you harness that, the more you can start a new company, move again to a different place. Well, that was when I was a junior in high school. Needless to say, I remember I moved when my boyfriend cheated on me. I moved to Saginaw, Michigan, didn't know, it was zero. I moved alone when I was 24 years old. I knew zero people. And by the 3 years I lived there, I knew that whole entire town. And that gave me the courage to move to Naples, Florida, and start over in a new town. I knew 0 people. And then I moved from there to Miami, Florida, and I knew a couple of people, right? But right now I can get up and move anywhere because I've done it, right? Like your past success and past experiences empower you for knowledge. Like that's information for you to say, I've done this before. I can totally do this again. And I can do it even better because this isn't my first rodeo.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Like, and as you're kind of talking through it, it's just, it's funny because I turned 40 this year. I turned 40 I'm 40. Hey. But I feel like being 40, I've gained more confidence. And because we've moved, I don't know, 4 to 6 times, I lost track. But we are in a new community and I had to go to a 6-year-old birthday party. And I didn't know anybody, but it was just like, Nicole, you've got this. Like, just walk around, be yourself, be authentic. And that's exactly, I went in and I had a blast and it was just like, everybody was so nice. So it's just, yeah, absolutely. Everything you said about just go out there, and you're worth it. Like, go out there, you're worth it, and make those friends and make those connections. And I'm also going to plug our coffee connections that we have around the world, where you can go to a USO coffee connection and make friends. That's why we created them, are so that you can go when you move to a new location, to a USO, go meet some friends. Everybody else there probably, they don't know anyone else either. So you'll go make some connections. So wanted to make that plug, but thank you, Heather, for that story. And moving your junior year of high school, that's hard.
But again, like that, because I had done that, that gave me the gift when that man said that opportunity to me. Do you want to go jump on a plane right now? I'm like, yeah, why not? I walked into a brand new high school at 16. This is nothing, right? True. So sometimes those difficult moments end up becoming the biggest gifts that we have.
So true. I love that. You guys write that down. Okay. Oh, I see Nate's typing in the chat. So what is your strategy for meeting new people when you PCS? So when you PCS, Heather, means like when you move from one location to the next location. So I think Heather touched on that, but meeting new people, then when you get to the new location, how do you go about finding your friends?
You got to take the lead, right? Don't sit around waiting for someone to show up to your house with a gift basket and all their friends for you to meet. No, heck no. You want to go knock on people's doors. I am not proud, right? I'm all about, my best friend could be next door, but I'm not going to know if I don't show up and say, hi, I'm Heather. I just moved from blah, blah, blah. I really want to come by and introduce myself. Let me know if there's any events going on. I'm really excited to meet new people. Show up at the Friday game at the school that your kid goes to, right? When instead of just dropping your kid off at the birthday party, walk up to the front door and introduce yourself and be smiling when you do it. Again, you don't have to jump into their home and pretend that you're going to be with them forever, but like try, extend a hand, show up at the bake sale, like get involved. And you can get involved in small ways, big ways, but going into the school and meeting with teachers and asking them, hey, do you know any parents around here that you think are really cool that I should introduce myself to? Start asking people, letting them know, I'm looking to meet new people. I just moved here. Let people know that you need some help. And most people are really kind and will help you.
So sweet. Absolutely. And it's funny because it's one of those things too, where I'm always like, can I get your number? I'd love to like connect and meet up for coffee. And I'm always the one like, can I give you my number? Can I get your number? And at that party, Heather, somebody asked me for my number. I didn't have to do it. I'm like, I did it. So super exciting. Okay. So we'll check back in with the chat in a second. I want to get to, let's see here. We'll talk about LinkedIn real quick, because LinkedIn is very, very powerful. And we have a lot of virtual classes through our USO. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't even talk. Our USO program, we have transitions. There we go. Where you can take a LinkedIn class with a subject matter expert and really grow your network. So I know, Heather, that LinkedIn has been very powerful for you, and that you're, top 200 LinkedIn creator. Can you tell us a little bit about how powerful LinkedIn can be? And then we'll go into there.
Yeah. So for me, 90% of my business comes from LinkedIn. It's incredible. Still to this, I've been on LinkedIn consistently every day for 6 years now. That's the key. Be consistent, show up as the real you, create content that you want to create, not what everybody else is doing. Yes, of course, you can look at what other people are doing and get inspired by it, but just be you. Don't try to be a B-rate version of someone else. I'm loud, I'm aggressive, I am not like everybody else. So when I show up with my posts and my content, some people aren't going to like it. That's okay. That's about them. That's not about me, right? So just embracing that you're not vanilla. You weren't put on this earth to be like everybody else. You were put on this earth to make a difference by bringing your perspectives to marketplace. There will be people that are going to resonate with you at the frequency at the stories that you have, the way that you message so differently than somebody else. So, make it about doing good, about educating and teaching. And people will say, I don't have anything to post about because I'm just a wife of someone in the military. Well, then talk about that. Talk about, here's some of the challenges that people don't really know go on behind the scenes in the military. Have you ever experienced something like this? What are your best tips and tricks when you move into a new town? Just start having conversation and engagement with people. And that's how you start building community. But it's critical to show up consistently for sure.
I love that. And I think with military spouses too, we always joke that military spouses are subject matter experts when it comes to designing your house because you're moving so much, moving, like packing boxes and the tips, road trips. What else was there? Travel. Because everybody is all over and you've lived in so many locations. So those are other things that you could use for your LinkedIn, topics. So love that, Heather. Okay, I will pause because I have so many more fun questions, but I will check in with Trish. Trish, what do we have going on in the chat?
Well, first, I want to say, Heather, your 7-day challenge has resonated with a whole lot of people. So we will hopefully be seeing a lot of people no longer apologizing, but saying thank you. So thank you for sharing that with us today. And everyone's just really agreeing with everything. People are super interested in your podcast. So we'll make sure we share that with everybody and really just understanding that, there are a lot of new spouses that it's hard for us to go and, make new friends. And so we do have a couple people that agreed that, they are door knockers. They go and they introduce themselves to their neighbors, and there are other people that are a little more shy. So it's interesting to see that dynamic. We did have one question that came in. Any tips of how to build your confidence when you work with men in this virtual world and it seems to work harder, or you have to work harder?
Yeah, the business that I was in, the radio business, was predominantly male. It was like 80% men. And so I have a lot of experience with being the only woman in the room. And yes, you do have to work harder. However, right, there are benefits to everything. Because I got promoted so much because I outworked everybody, and it just became obvious after a while. Everyone would say like, oh, give it to Heather. She'll get it done. She'll do it. And then pretty soon when you're taking all the work on, you're getting all the experience, you're meeting all the people, you own the relationships. Now everyone has to come to you, and then the power shifts, and then you've got the power. So look at it that way, that it truly is a gift when you're the one that, yeah, I'm working harder, but I'm invited to the same meeting you are because they want to hear my perspective. And I warrant a seat here. And warranting a seat here means my voice needs to be heard because I've been invited, right? And start owning and owning that when you walk into that Zoom meeting or wherever you're going to be, or if it's in person, knowing that your voice is critical to be heard because you have a different perspective. I'm actually on the board of directors of a company. It's a medical company, and I'm the only woman, right? So and I just had a board meeting this morning. So I challenge myself before I walk into that board meeting every quarter or whatever month it is. Heather, don't you dare sit there. This is what the conversation I have with myself before I walk in silence, because you are failing every woman out there in the world, and you're failing this company if you don't own the voice of a woman and share that perspective. The company will be at a loss as a result if I sit silently, right? So I challenge myself to speak more than anybody. And someone made a joke. I work with great people. They appreciate that I'm a woman, but they do laugh about it sometimes. They say, oh, here she goes again. What do you have to say on this one, Heather? And I always remind them, guys, we have 3 parts of our business, our product lines devoted to women. Are you sure you don't want to hear the lady's voice here? Might be a good idea. We all might make a little bit more money, right? I just remind them like, okay, so for you, whoever asked that question, yeah, I agree with you. It can be tough and it can be isolating. but it also can be a huge chance for you to make big change and to really rock that unique perspective, which will add so much value. Don't allow them to intimidate you. If anything, flip the script on them and own that, you know what, it is important for you to hear my voice. I was asked to this meeting and I am asked to sit here because I'm so different than all of you and I see it very differently. Let me share with you the way that I see it and how I think this can add value to the team, right? And really just stand powerfully and not apologizing, but sharing your opinions and watch how that power will start wielding your way and building for you.
Told you guys she's good. She's so good. But just imagine listening to her while you're like doing things throughout the day and then you go into a meeting like this. I mean, it's incredible. I'm obsessed, Heather. I'm sorry. So I have more questions from the registrants, and Liz is on today and she has a question. She's an Army spouse in Louisiana and wants to know, what is the best piece of advice you've been given and how have you used it?
Oh my gosh. So there's this funny guy that was a mentor to me in the radio business. He was a lot older than me. And this is what he used to say. So I hope it doesn't offend anyone, but he would say, there's always going to be another deal. There's always going to be another partnership. There's always going to be another guy. Desperate is so unattractive. And he could mean that in a variety of ways to me. And this is how I took it on was, I don't need to be dying for this job or dying for this friend or dying to date this man because it's going to change my life. I need to be me and know that by showing up as the most powerful, strong version of me, I'm going to attract the right opportunities to me. I'm aggressive AF and I'm going to go out and make a lot of things happen. But I don't ever need to sit from a place of, well, I'll just keep dropping the price. And I mean, if that's not going to work, desperate is so unattractive, whether it be from a friendship standpoint, a parenting standpoint, a business standpoint, or a relationship standpoint. Own who you are, own your value, know that you are worth more, know that you are worth whatever you say you are worth. And you've got to convince yourself of that first. So the more you own that worth, the more you invest in yourself and start showing up as that best version of you. Work out, take time for you, make time for your girlfriends and the things that you care about. Start rocking you and watch how the world changes around you because you don't need to be desperate for anything.
So good. All right. So Jamie, a Marine spouse in North Carolina, would like to ask how you overcome self-doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I still have self-doubt all the time. Frankly, I think if anyone isn't having self-doubt, they're not putting themselves in new and exciting opportunities. That's the reality, right? For a long time when I was in corporate America, I had less self-doubt because it was like Groundhog Day. I knew exactly the meeting I was walking into. I knew everybody. I knew the pitch. I knew how it was going to play out. It wasn't very scary. These days, I scare myself every single day, right? I'm always like I said to you, Nicole, ask any question. I don't care. Right. Is it because I'm a reckless person? No, I want to challenge myself to be better on my feet. I want to challenge myself to, whoa, I didn't expect that question. How are you going to handle this one, Heather? Right. So I always want to put myself in new situations, just like the moving, because once you do that a few times, once you get scared and you don't die, you survive it, maybe you even thrive in it, then it gives you more courage to get over that self-doubt the next time. One of my biggest challenging moments or days I've had since I've been on my own the past 5 years is I gave a TEDx talk and I speak all over the country. However, this is very different in that you have a timer and you get 10 minutes and it's scripted and you have to stand in a little red circle and it must be approved by the TEDx people. It's not just free flowing and you do you be you. So I don't thrive in very contrived environments. I know that. So I saw it as a challenge. I'm like, this is going to be really challenging for me. However, I feel scared. So I know fear is a green light that means go and go faster. I need to do it. So as soon as I felt scared, I said, yes, sign me up. And I put so much work and preparation in, first of all. So anytime you have self-doubt, put the work in, put the reps in. My poor kid saw me give that TEDx talk 800 times at my kitchen table long before I actually got on the red circle and did it. I went and visited the venue ahead of time. I visualized myself being there. I walked the circle. I practiced in the circle. I took video of myself in the circle. I came home and videoed myself on Zoom. I wrote that speech out 300 times. I put the big moments of my speech all around my condo so I would see the visuals every day. I hired a coach. I invested in myself so I could have more practice and more experience from somebody else who had done it before. I had never done it before, right? So I wanted to learn from someone who had been where I was going. All of these things help you overcome self-doubt. And then the day of, I was scared to death. I was the first speaker. People were puking in the background. I mean, these people were not professional speakers. It was a disaster and, an S show backstage, which was contributing to my anxiety and contributing to my self-doubt. And I remember I put my AirPods in because I have a playlist that I only listen to prime my mind right before I'm going to do something big. I wanted to shut out the rest of the world, put those AirPods in, close my eyes, wouldn't let any of these crazy people come near me. I sniffed my lavender, which calms me down and settles me. I reminded myself of 3 other big stages that I had taken that I had to interview Sarah Blakely. I was so sweaty and scared, and it went great. So I kept reminding myself that went well and you were so scared. You feel the same way today. This is going to go. That's a sign. This is going to go great, Heather. You care. Then I start saying, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. There's a fine line between being nervous and being excited. And I lean into excitement every single time because I care. And then I take the pressure off myself. I say, if I can affect one person and impact one person in a positive way, I've done exactly what God put me on this earth to do, to make the world a better place. And that's all I need to do. And then I remind myself, I am so proud of you, Heather. You are stepping into fear yet again. And no matter what the outcome, I'm going to be here cheering you on. And then I go, and you can too.
So good. I hope Jamie, if you're listening right now, that helped. Okay, awesome. Yeah, she's here. So she says thank you. That's incredible. And I do have a question then. What does Heather listen to when you put your AirPods in? What's a good song to hype you up?
I am a thug life 90-year, like the 90s hip hop is my era. Like people would crack up. You hear all my playlists. Everything is, I was listening to Bobby Brown, My Prerogative this morning, Janet Jackson. I listen to Jay-Z. I listen to Drake. I love hip hop. So I'm definitely, my music is not what everybody listens to. I'm not listening to country. Let's put it that way.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So fun. So fun. I think we need a dance party next time. Yep, that's happening. All right. So, projects. I know you said you have your book behind you, but what big projects are you working on now? Is it kind of working on the book and getting that out there, or what's coming up?
Oh no, that book's already out.
Yes.
2021. My new book is going to be called The Secret Art of Skipping the Line. And I've mapped it out, but I haven't started writing it. What I've found is if I'm not like really into something, I have to wait till I feel like inspired to do it. So one of the things that I've learned in the past couple of years is I've been beholden to people, meaning I love speaking. It's like, without a doubt, it lights me up like anything. I love doing it. However, I don't like jumping on a flight here to go to this city, to jump on this flight, to leave my kid. So I thought to myself, pump the brakes for a minute. What does an ideal life look like for me? I just want to what does that look like? I love making a lot of money. I'm not going to apologize for it. I love buying nice things. Like I love living my best life in Miami. Shout out to the 305. So I know I need to make a lot of money. But how can I make more money while I'm sleeping and find the easy button so that I can take the speaking engagements I want and not feel like I have to run to this one and run to this one because I need the money. So I keep asking God, show me that way. What does that path look like? Grow the podcast, Heather, right? Grow the book sales. Those are things you've already created that, find ways to drive revenue that you don't have to jump on a flight for. And all of a sudden, wouldn't you know, I had a woman reach out to me. I had been on her podcast, she had been on mine, but I kept asking God this, God, please show me the way. What is the best way for me to make money, add value, and help other people and not have to always jump on a plane? And this woman called me and she said, I just moved to South Florida. Can we meet for lunch? And I said, all right, you never know. I'll go, I'll meet another person and be hopeful. We sat down, we hit it off. And within 5 minutes, she said, you're sleeping on $1 million business. And I said, tell me more. And she said, I hope you don't get offended. I said, I don't offend easily. I appreciate ideas. Give it to me. And she said, you should do a mastermind. It's a high ticket community where people spend a lot of money to come in community with you and the other people on the team and spend a year in this community together, elevating each other while you teach around, how to speak, how to elevate your personal brand, how to write a book, whatever. She said, it's not hard. It's easy to do. You don't have to leave your home to do it. And you can layer it on top of everything else that you're doing and you can help a lot of people. And boom, my mastermind was born from that. So I'm actually launching that mastermind at the end of this month. And this is just a new business that my eyes were open to. One, because I asked God, to show me a way and a path. But then this kind woman just showed up into my life and said, hey, I want to share with you, what my business looks like, because I think you could build a very similar business if it makes sense for you. And it was exactly what I was looking to do. So just, I guess, being open-minded to things don't have to be just one way, because that's the way that you see them. There might be so many other ways out there. You have to open your mind to that possibility, that uncertainty, and start stepping into it.
Oh, good. Thank you. And Trish, is there anything we can address out there in the chat box?
So we did have another one come in, and we might touch back on it. So if you put it in the Q&A, if you could kind of reiterate where you want that question to go, then we can kind of jump in. But kind of from what I'm seeing is, Heather, did your son ever need help from another man to deal with life issues? And how did that work from seeing, I guess, the confidence?
Did he ever need help from another man? I don't understand.
Yeah, we'll have her. So Patty, if you want to reiterate your question for us, we'll have Heather answer. But that is it for now. If you guys want to continue, and then Nicole, we'll jump back in once we have a little more clarification on that.
Yeah. And I can kind of read the question here too. It says, was there ever a time your son needed help from another man to deal with life issues growing up? So for the single moms that are raising boys, did you ever have to reach out to a male to kind of help with anything your son may have needed?
So my son lives with me 100%, but he does have a father, right? So they do have a relationship. He speaks to him, he sees him, a couple of times a month. So he does have a father that he can speak to. But I would say that, I grew up in this town, Worcester, where I have, 20 of my best friends, and half of them are all guys. And my son has been vacationing summers with all these people all the time. So he has a lot of community in his life with other spouses that aren't mine, that are like my best friend's husband here, my best friend's husband in Atlanta. And, so he has a lot of great male role models in his life that aren't, necessarily in our biological family, but they're in his community. And he's had incredible coaches, right? So not even the coaches, he's on Ray Allen's AAU team, which is incredible for basketball right now, but he also has a private coach that he works with, this guy, George, that he meets with 3 or 4 times a week. So all these different people are invested in my son's life, teachers at school and his coaches at school that are a big part of having male influences who support him. And then my son looks up to Steph Curry, like this incredible athlete. And, he always is consuming his content. So because social media is so prevalent these days, that as long as you find the right people to follow, it can be such a positive experience in seeing, how different people show up. So I feel like he's got a lot of really positive male voices in his life, even though it isn't necessarily one that's living in our home.
Okay, perfect. All right. So Raven, an Army spouse in Germany, shout out to all of our friends out there in Germany, ask, what is one of the biggest roadblocks to creating confidence in your experience?
It's always ourselves. That's the funny thing, is when you really boil it down, it's always the person that's looking at the other person in the mirror, right? Like it's you. For me, it's me. There's no one holding me back but me. Yes, there is something to be said for, if you're in a marriage where someone's speaking down to you and belittling you all the time. I always say this: fire the villain from your life. If there's an external villain, overcome your villain. If there's an external villain in your life, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your sister, I don't know who it is. You either need to create boundaries or you need to fire that person and cut them out of your life. I worked side by side with a woman for 14 years who hated me. It was so clear. And I used to always turn a blind eye to it and say, that's about her, not about me. But the reality is it dwindles away and erodes away at your confidence when you don't stand up for yourself and say, you know what, that's not an okay way to speak to me. And I don't appreciate that you don't acknowledge me when I walk into a room. We've worked together for a decade. Saying hello occasionally would be nice, right? So those are the things I've learned, that you're much more powerful when you own your voice, even if it isn't a popular one. Do it for you. But at the end of the day, it really is about you. You're the one allowing that person in your space, or you're the one that stays in that job you're not happy in when you know you should be painting or doing something different. Follow your heart, listen to your intuition, regardless of what everybody says around you. And the more you show up in that manner, the more confident you become.
Love it. Okay. Raven, I hope you You got something out of that because that's powerful. So we have Alexis, an Air Force spouse in Florida. Hey, would like to know how you balance productivity and periods of rest.
Yeah, I'm not really great at that. Listen, we all have things we're good at and things we're not so great at. I'm not the best at rest. And, so what I do is I invest, right? Like I go to acupuncture, I go and get massages, I go to a therapist, I go to an energy healer. Like I have a lot of past trauma. I had a very, very hard childhood. And in some ways, subconsciously, I hang on to those things. And I know because I hang on to that, it's almost like reliving abuse. You push yourself so hard all the time and you have to stop and say, wait a minute, and this is kind of what I was saying before, where I had to pump the brakes on flying all around the world all the time. I had to say, wait a minute, is this the best way for me to live my life? I love what I do, but I'm tired all the time, right? So I'm getting better the older I get at saying, is there a better way to do this? I don't have to kill myself every day. I don't have to run 9 miles. I could go for a 3-mile run and not, hurt my knees. So these are all things I'm learning as I get older, but it's really about being gentle with yourself and dealing with a lot of the subconscious things from our past that maybe we don't notice as to why we behave in a certain way, but really trying to get real. And for me, that's accessing experts that know about this stuff. I didn't know anything about energy healing or, therapy or but I went right down the rabbit holes to say, if this can help me be a better version of me, be kinder to me, then I can show up as a better mother, a better speaker, a better everything, then that's who I want to be. And going down those, which can be scary roads to really understand like why you show up the way you do. So I guess I'm in a work in progress like everybody else.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So entrepreneurs, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the military spouse space because it's easy for, the spouses to take their business with them rather than trying to continuously find a job every time they move. So what advice do you have to the spouses that are like, I really wish I could do this. I don't know if I can do this. What advice do you have to give them to say, let's take that leap, do it?
Okay. So this is the best thing I can tell you is fast forward to your deathbed, as bleak as it sounds, right? Picture yourself being in your 90s and you're laying on a deathbed and your kids are all around, everyone you love is all around. Are you going to be that guy in the deathbed saying, I had the greatest book in business inside me, but I didn't do it because I was too scared? Or are you going to be the guy that says, I had the greatest book inside me and it had a lot of mistakes and I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but I ripped and ran with it and I am so grateful I did. That's me, right? So I will be that guy that's like, it isn't perfect and it didn't go exactly the way I thought it should, but it's incredible and it changes people's lives and it's changed my life and opened up possibility for me and for so many others. Be that guy, like put yourself in that situation to say, is this how I want to spend the rest of my life? Like a B-rate version of me, not stepping into the fear because I'm afraid what other people are going to think, or I'm afraid I could fail. Instead, flip it around on yourself and say, who do I really want to be at the end of my life? And then I'm so grateful I can actually be that person today. I just need to take that action. Hold yourself accountable. Figure out an accountability partner. Sometimes I just post on social media. It's time for me to write my second book. So I'm starting today. I wasn't really, but I knew people would start asking me about it. So I reverse engineer social media to put pressure on me to make me do something that I'm, hesitating to do. It's no different than if you want to lose 5 pounds. You get on the scale, you write it down, you create a plan, you write down your goal, you check in with your goal, you hire a trainer, you pay attention to pay attention, have an intention, revisit it daily, challenge yourself to grow and hold yourself accountable along the way. It's truly no different than, wanting to go to the gym or lose weight or anything. All these things is having an intention, having a decision, setting a goal, writing it down and holding ourselves accountable.
Love it. Okay. Yep. We got it. I agree. Yes. Everybody's loving this. So thank you. Okay. So one question that I think this will hopefully light up the chat box. So what question then, Heather, do you have for military spouses joining us today?
I'm super interested to know what is the one thing that's holding you back? What holds you back more than anything from living your best life, going for everything that you want? I'm super curious. I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat.
Let's see it, guys. Don't be shy. We know you're there.
There's no bad answer.
Right.
Nicole, I think you'll have to answer it first then to get people to open up and get over, release their fears and let us know what holds them back.
What's holding me back? Well, I feel like this has been is it like a banner year? Is that the year I want to say where I have just really leaned in on self-care, really leaned in on, putting me first and listening to the things I need to listen to, surround myself, who I need to surround myself around. My friend Liz, who's on the podcast, or not the podcast, on the call right now. We ran a half marathon in January, and we're, just things like that to continue putting myself out there. So I guess the challenge would be is how else can I grow throughout this year, and how do I continue to make myself uncomfortable so that I can challenge myself? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there.
That's so good though. But and congrats to you for putting yourself first. So many women specifically think that it's selfish to put yourself first. It is so selfless. It's selfless to put yourself first, because the more you put yourself first, the better mom you're going to be, the better spouse you're going to be, the more you can give to everybody else around you. And we've got to reframe that, because it's so, so true. Plus, you're teaching your kid. That was the easy one for me. If I'm not going to go to the gym at night, even though I've been working all day, even though my son might have to make himself dinner sometimes, he's never going to be the guy that puts himself first. He's going to marry some woman that, is expecting him to take care. No, I thought, I'm not letting my kid be. I want him to take care of him first and then give back to the people around him. I need to show up and be that person too. So, but I think, Nicole, what you're saying, surrounding yourself with people that are challenging you in community. Like, it's so good when you have people around you that you can look to say, oh gosh, he just wrote his third book. I better get going now.
Right.
I'm being lazy. Like, it's motivating when you have people that are inspiring and going for more around you. It's so important who you surround yourself with.
Yes. Yep. Oh, and it looks like we have some stuff in the chat. I can call out, let's see here. So for Sarah, she wrote, I feel bad, but I spend my time homeschooling four kids. So that's it. And when husband's gone, it's just me. So I don't get breaks or a lot of time to hustle or create. However, he's retiring now after 24 years. Shout out to your family, Sarah. And thankfully, I'm hoping he can help with the kids to give me time to do me.
Yeah, you need to ask for that. Hello, you've been giving for everybody else. It is your time. Hello, you need to tell him what you need. I want to answer this one. Worrying is holding me back. I won't be able to complete my goals. So why try working on overall confidence? Oh my gosh, you need my book, Confidence Creator, please. Okay, but I recently learned something about worrying that's been so helpful for me, because I worry, especially, I think everyone, when the pandemic hit, like, how could you not worry, right? There was just so much uncertainty and fear that impacted me in a very negative way. And, someone said to me, and this is true, whether you believe in manifestations, you believe in prayer, but like, there's fact around it that it actually works, right? And so, and again, this is all stuff that I've really been diving into the past few years. Worry and fear block prayers and manifestation, meaning, and for anyone that has faith on this call, and you see in the Bible, it says so many times that you need a mustard seed of faith in order for your prayers to be answered, but you still need to have some little bit of faith. When you worry and fear, you're saying you don't have faith. So the next time you start finding yourself worrying or fear, say, wait a minute, I move forward with faith. I have total faith that this is going to happen. And the more you actually believe that and put that energy out there to the world, the more you're going to see those manifestations showing up, those blessings showing up. I promise you. And once you see it once, it's like this, something goes off in your mind. Wait a minute, worrying and sitting around being negative has been blocking me from all of this, all of these years. I've been working so hard, but because I was worried, I was keeping all these gifts, all these blessings from me. And then, this is a whole other level. I started thinking to myself, all the people I know in the world that worry all the time, that are negative all the time, that are in fear all the time, and they're not living magical lives where blessings show up. And then I started thinking, like, with avatars. Think of those people, Heather, and anytime you start to worry and say, I don't want to live a life like that, like, they're not having blessings. And then conversely, I think of the other avatar. my friend's husband, who he's like happy-go-lucky. Everything always goes well for me. I don't know. I just pray for things to become, and they're always happening. And so I remind myself, that's how I want to live my life. I want to live my life moving forward with faith, moving forward with the energy that great things are always coming in for me. Why wouldn't they be? And I'm going to do more good in the world with them. I'm going to move forward with these blessings and do more good and build more good. And as you visualize those things and think about it, and then start watching them happen in your life, you're not going to want to worry anymore.
So good. Thank you. I know I keep saying so good, but it's just, I'm obsessed. All right. So let's see here. April wrote, I'm accepting longer timeline for things. Moving is a huge of energy and time and diverts me from my business goals. And I know that it pays off over time, slowly getting to almost 15,000 downloads in my podcast. Great job, April.
That's huge. That's huge success.
I'm seeing if there's anything else. Liz, we have, before you retired 2 years ago, I was held back by not being in control of where we lived. I think I kept myself in a little box of safety to control what I could control. Now he's retired and we're stable. I'm taking more risks, career, friendships, financially, etc.
That's so amazing. Congratulations.
Oh, good. Okay. And then Lisa, I'll read yours. One thing that I realized holding me back is being overwhelmed by the mountain before me and not accepting or making small steps towards the goal.
Oh my gosh, it's all about baby steps. Take the baby steps. That's how you build the momentum for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Heather, thank you so much for joining us today and just giving us, some tools and some knowledge that we can take, throughout this crazy military life that we're all living. I think that a lot of us will be able to take a lot from what you said today and apply it to our daily lives. I sure have been, and everything that Heather says, speak it, and be around positive people and just do your thing, guys. I think this is Heather's podcast. Listen to it, check out her books. Trish put her information in the chat, so she's also LinkedIn. She's on all the socials: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. But Heather, any other last words before we part?
Oh, put yourself first this weekend and celebrating yourselves on Saturday and Sunday with both of these amazing opportunities. Ask for what you want. Tell your spouse what you want. Don't wait for them to come up, and fall short. Make sure you ask for what you want, invest in you, put yourself first. You're worthy, you deserve it. And the more you own and rock that, everybody else is going to own and rock that for you too.
Thank you, Heather. We appreciate you. On behalf of the USO, thank you for joining us. And thanks to all the spouses listening now live and joining us later on as you're listening to the recording. So thank you, everybody.